The topic of the night is the renunciation from the sovereignty is a renunciation from the matrix. And in answering that, you got to ask, well, what is the matrix? The matrix is society as a machine that limits the development of human potential, that limits individuals from being able to access the divine reality and power within themselves. And they fall into a pyramid scheme where you got these people on top who control everything and the people on the bottom who are forever oppressed by those that control everything. And they're running on a wheel, and they believe that they are going somewhere and achieving something, but they're actually going nowhere. When I talk about your sovereignty is renunciation from the matrix, when we want sovereignty, we want independence. We don't want to be prisoners or be under a race of people, a group of people. We don't want to be under this white supremacy ruling class in America ultimately. In Africa, we had our own kingdoms and our own sovereignty. In America, we don't have it as a people. We talk about how to get it, and that's where the Black Power conversation comes from. We talk about how can we get back into power. And we try everything. We talk about economics, getting our knowledge. We talk about education. Some people even talk about health. We talk about militants and fighting them. But tonight I'm talking about the renunciation of the matrix reality, giving up their entire reality, no longer supporting their ideology, their concepts, their religion, their way of life, their culture, renouncing everything that is associated with that imprisoned reality. That means not just supporting white businesses, not just homeschooling your children, you follow, not just quitting your job, but giving up every principle, every idea, every custom, giving up every dimension of identifying and associating with their world to become a being that is capable of being consciously, psychologically, mentally independent from their world, where we no longer are even validated or invalidated by their reality whatsoever. Once we do that, then we can achieve some level of sovereignty. What we got going on today is a competition. Our quest for power is nothing but a competition with them. We want to excel at the same thing they do, and we are competing with them for the same thing that they want. When you renunciate their reality, you no longer want what they want. Their desires are no longer your desires. Their world is no longer your world. You can no longer even really communicate with them. You no longer give a fuck about their reality at all. You have completely renounced their reality. Once you renounce their reality, they can no longer connect themselves to you. That's your sovereignty. As long as you have a theme of your reality that runs in alignment with theirs, you are connected with them. Any aspect of the theme that connects you to them keeps you in their matrix. Anything that those in the matrix can come to you with that makes any sense is a level of agreement or a consensus reality. Our enslavement and imprisonment within the white man's world, our lack of liberation that we experience, is based upon a consensus reality that we share with them. They are not our masters. They are not our lords or our overseers. We share in a consensus reality where we agree to compete with them based upon the game that they have created. And right now, we're simply just losing the game. Once you renounce the matrix, you no longer give a fuck about the game anymore. You're not even playing the game anymore. You don't even understand. You get to a point you don't even understand what the game is anymore. You know, in Christianity, they teach you that if you find out who Jesus Christ is, that he's your Lord and Savior and all this, that you're going to be saved. And it's the responsibility of every human being on the earth to find out who Jesus is before they die so they can go to heaven or they can be resurrected and taken into the new world. The Christians teach this. And the Muslims teach that in order for you to go to heaven, or Jannah as they pronounce it, or paradise, that you need to take your shahada and you need to bear witness that there is no God but Allah before you can get off into heaven. And you have to make your, the 5 pillars and make your pilgrimage to Mecca. But ultimately, you need to take your shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, ultimately. The Christians, Jesus Christ is your Lord Savior. Krishna, you have to accept the Supreme Lord and chant the names of Krishna. Every religion. But when it comes to getting out of the matrix, we don't realize how personal it is. That from the time that you came out of the womb, that your only salvation was you realizing what the matrix was and renouncing it your damn self. We see that when it makes sense somehow that people somewhere that have no access to white supremacy is supposed to find out who white Jesus is and accept him as their Lord and Savior. Or somebody that don't know any Arabs or haven't come into any Islamic religions or beliefs, it makes sense that somehow they're supposed to take their shahada and find out who Allah is. It makes sense. But if I tell you to come out of the matrix, that it's a personal path of renunciation of white supremacy, of the white man's paradigm, a lot of people can't stomach that. They can't fathom that. They literally want to save other people. They want to save the world. They want to save their families and save their relatives and save all these people. And your desire to save them is good. But in order for you to become a Christian, you got to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and that's your personal responsibility. Whether you're illiterate, whether you took your GED, whether you can read or write, you got to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you ultimately are expected to do that for yourself, for your own salvation. The same thing with being a Muslim. But I'm telling you, for you to become liberated as a black person in society and be liberated from white supremacy, that it is the individual's desire to completely and absolutely renounce the matrix. And when you renounce it, you also renounce everything and everybody that is constantly connected to the matrix. See, when you become a Christian, you don't go into the Satanist temple, right, and sit in the sessions and hear them talking about Satan and claim that I'm only hearing this or participating in this because I want these people to be saved. You might go up to the door and drop off a Jehovah's Witness or a Watchtower pamphlet, right? And you keep it moving. But when you come over to getting out of the matrix, you have come into the matrix of getting people out of the matrix. Now it's a matrix of getting people out of the matrix. That your liberation and your enlightenment, right, is not personal anymore, not that valuable. Once you get out of the matrix, there's no matrix to get anybody out anymore. That's how you know that you got out the matrix, because now there's not even a matrix to get anybody out anymore, because the matrix is not real and does not exist. You have to be in the matrix for it to exist and for it to be real. And if you are no longer in the matrix, then it's no longer real and no longer exists. So once you get out, there's no longer a matrix to get anybody out anymore. Where there's a matrix to get somebody out of no longer exists for you once you get out of the matrix. And what was the matrix? What you were seeing and experiencing as the matrix, consciously or unconsciously, the phenomenal reality of that completely transforms totally in front of your face. Where it went from imprisonment, light code lockdown, to you stepping into limitless possibility and the infinite possibility of what can happen and what can be. You go from a solidified state to a state that's completely liquid. This is a reality. So coming out of the matrix is personal. It's just as personal as you coming out of, as you going into any religion and looking for salvation within that mythos, within that religious framework. It's personal. Some of us are trapped in the matrix of getting other people out of the matrix. So we continue in our own consciousness to keep recreating a matrix that we have to get others out. And that is a product of our very own creation. Once you get out of the matrix, everything, it's like you shake up the entire Etch-a-Sketch. And you can create now from that point on. Now you become truly a supreme architect. If you really still see in the matrix, you see in lines that other people have drawn, you're not an artist. You still are an art consumer. You're an investor. If you're still looking at the art of others. It's not when you see more blank canvases than you see the art of others have you become an artist. How many blank canvases are you looking at on a day-to-day basis, and how much art that has already been depicted by others are you seeing? This will determine how much of a creator that you have become. The world becomes a blank canvas for those who have renounced the matrix. And those who are still seeing something that is solid, that is there, are still in the matrix. And those who see the infinite possibility to create whatever they desire are out of it. Simple. If you see limits and boxes and lines and all this shit of you can't do this and I can't do that and I can't move over here and I can't do this and this is just the way it is and this is how to work. If you're seeing that, you're still in the damn matrix. And if you're seeing the limitless possibility to infinitely create, really simple. In order to gain sovereignty, you must renounce the matrix. As long as the language of your enemy is your language, he has jurisdiction over you. And when I talk about language, you all think I'm talking about speaking English or speaking, Dutch or French or Swahili. When I'm talking about language, I'm talking about how your mind and your thoughts unfold, express who you are. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the language per se that you're speaking. I'm talking about how the enemy can usurp your communication, or how clueless as hell they are what's going on. Because you can speak an African language and the enemy can go ahead and learn an African language and speak right there with you. But when your language go beyond all languages that are here, all the limitations of communications that have already been implemented by human beings, when your language goes beyond all of that, there's no way that your dialogue or your conversation can be usurped by others. People not ready to renounce the matrix. If you find yourself arguing about what niggas have already argued about before, you in the matrix. If you find yourself having a problem with niggas have already had a problem with, you already in the matrix. You can only use yourself to see if you're still in the matrix, nobody else. You can't use what anybody else is doing to determine if you're in the matrix. You can only look at what you're doing. If you're still upset and mad and upset about the issues that people have that are in the matrix, that's a good sign you're still in there. If you still volatile, is angry, you still ready to fight, and you still ready to go to war with your own kind, and You still having the same dilemmas every day that people have in the Matrix. How have you got out of it? And you want to save and bring other people out. But why you want to bring them out of the Matrix? You are the Matrix for them. You are that recurring solidity. You are the constant parameters of what is real for others and what you project. You are that. And until you change, when you change that and you no longer that solidity, people will dissolve into the limitlessness of what you have become. And that's how they will get out of the Matrix. They will either be reaffirmed by your solidity, by being the Matrix, or they will either dissolve into limitless possibility by you becoming that infinite in and of yourself. It'll be the difference is if they come up against a brick wall, or they get sucked into a black hole. Some of us are those brick wall people, where we just continue to reaffirm to them that the Matrix is real. You follow? I'm selfish. I'm jealous. I got a problem. I'm mad. I'm these issues. I'm these problems. I'm these circumstances. You are still the Matrix. And you reaffirm that they're in the Matrix because you have the same type of sentiment. You recreate the Matrix before them as yourself. But when they fall into a black hole, into that deep rabbit hole, that means they're unable to connect with you in a way that reaffirms the Matrix in their reality. They press buttons where there are no buttons there. They step on floors that have no ground. They jump into ceilings that have no roofs. And they end up jumping right on up out the Matrix. But this won't happen until you have fully renounced it. Some people say they see in the Matrix every day, everywhere they go, all the time. They see in the Matrix all around them. The seer is the Matrix. What you see is what you get. And what you see is what you contribute. Those people who will truly renounce it will be that point where the Matrix loses all its substance. They will become the part where the Matrix dissolves. They will become the Bermuda Triangle.